This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy. Welcome to Teaching to the Test Pattern. I'm Tom White, your host, and today I'm going to share how on day one, we did it day two this year, on day one of most semesters, I take a group of first-year students and have them produce our daily news show. We literally, normally, except 2020, start on day one. The only reason I didn't start on day one this year was taking care of the different COVID standards and practices and things like that I needed to cover. We could have done it, but it would have been pushing it. So before we get into that, though, I want to make sure to thank our sponsors, Amatrace, AMITRACE.com. I could not do this show without them. I really couldn't. Their support is tremendous. Their support for educators across the state of Georgia, where I am, is tremendous. I know that they're like massive in other states, but I know for sure Georgia, because I talk to teachers across the state, and 9 times out of 10, a lot of the times they're going, oh yeah, they just came by and dropped in our new TriCaster and set us up and got us going, and they spent a day with us training. That's where Amatrace is different than other providers, in that Amatrace is going to build in some training into your package. So you're going to get the same price comparatively to with other vendors, but you're not going to get the training. And that's what separates Amatrace, especially when it comes to education. So go check them out, AMITRACE.com. If you are looking to build up or build out your program, or if your school system is looking to do some really cool video stuff and they realized, oh wow, these guys and gals who teach this are really important and we should support them, reach out to Amatrace, tell them what you want to do. They'll find a way to make sure that they can get you what you need. And again, they're going to train you. You're not going to get that from a website. You're not going to get that from a delivery service. I'm not naming any product names for fear of lawsuit, but you know who I'm talking about. AMITRACE.com. Go check them out today.
This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
All right, so let's talk daily news production. This is probably, other than streaming, the biggest question I get is how do you stream, or how do you do daily news? And how I do daily news is really quite simple. I explain to the students that they don't have to think to do the news. I will do the thinking for them as they get started. I break down all of their walls immediately when it comes to being a technical director, being a graphics operator, being a floor manager, being a teleprompter operator, being an assistant director. Our assistant director counts us back into the shows. They fire our DSKs. They make sure that our video files are upright and in the right order, and that they fire right. They get us into the show, that kind of stuff. So that's what my assistant director does. But what I do is I break it down to the simplest form that I can, especially on day one, because they're nervous. They're nervous because for some of them, it's the first time they're going to be on camera. For some of them, they've never seen a switcher. They've never seen these graphics software. I imagine all of them have never seen the graphics software. They've never read off a teleprompter. And so I break it down, and here's how I do that. So I start with the anchors, because that's the one they're most nervous about, because they're teenagers, or in some cases they're preteens. If you're at a middle school, they're preteens. They're worried about people who are going to see them on camera. Even your most gregarious student, who's like way over the top and intense and like that typical 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade boy, they're nervous on camera. They won't tell you that, but they most certainly are. So what I do is I explain to them that you don't have to think. You don't have to even think about the words you're saying. Just say the words in order. That's it. So I break it down to that. You don't have to think. Just say the words. And then for floor manager, I break it down to that because they're in the studio with the anchors. I go, the floor manager, you don't have to think. All you have to do is signal the numbers 5 to 1. That's it. And you don't even have to think about when to give those numbers, because the assistant director is going to give them to you. So when the assistant director says 5, you hold up 5. And when they say 4, you hold up 4 and 3 and then 2 and 1. And after 1, you just point at the person. That's it. So I break it down. You don't have to think. Teleprompter operator, same thing. You don't have to think. You just have to listen to the anchor. You have to move the words so that the words they're saying are on the little white arrow. That's it. If they speak fast, you scroll up. If they speak slow, you slow down. If they're speaking fast and you need to slow them down, yeah, there's a little thinking there, but not a lot. So that's the first three. Really, I have 2 anchors or 3 anchors, but so your anchor, again, don't think, just read. Floor manager, don't think, just do what you're told. Teleprompter operator, don't think, just listen. Now, my technical director, that's a tough job. Sometimes, when we start our show, it's usually one camera and some video clips. And when I say some video clips, I mean literally like a show open and a show close. I use a TriCaster, so my show open, I have macros embedded into it to where it pulls the graphics up and down. So as it fires, it takes them down. As it comes off, it takes them back, puts them back up. My outro video, we have a 7-second little tag that we do at the end of it. Inside of it, it stops the stream. So literally, there's very little for the technical director to think about. They just push the button that we tell them to push. If it's camera 1, you hit 1. When I say take, you hit the take button. I literally break it down that simply, because I don't want them to be intimidated. When we sit down and look at these things and they have lights and they have levers and some lights are flashing and some lights are solid, we get intimidated. But when you break it down to these students as, you just push the button I tell you to push and you're going to be okay, it takes a lot of pressure off of them. That's how you do the technical director. You go, okay, when I say 1, you hit 1. When I say take, you hit take. I tell them to never touch the red buttons, only touch the green. So they're only putting things in preview before they take them. That way, they get into that habit. We're not hot punching anything. Assistant director, I show them the multi-view and I say, okay, there's your countdown for DDR1 and there's your countdown for DDR2. Every 5 seconds, you give them an update. So if it's every 5 seconds after 20. So 15, 10. And then when you get to 5, you just count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're not having to think. You're just saying the words. And again, they're firing some graphics from their position every now and then if we can't put macros into a video because of whatever, or if we realize that the voiceover, the graphics are blocking something in the video. Graphics operator, we use Tidler Live. We use a spreadsheet. So literally, they're just listening and they're clicking on in the software what's currently on the air. And I did a different graphic this year where we have now and then 2 things that are coming up next. But literally, they just click and it just kind of rolls. Nothing for them to really even think about. And then for directing, I do that the first couple of days. And I make it simple. It's a simple show. It's, hey, here's some clips. And it's just the back and forth. It's anchor 1 and then DDR1. And then back to anchor 1. And with the TriCaster, it automatically switches at the end of the clip if you set it that way. And it just bounces back and forth. And that's how I get through the first day. And it's super easy because everybody, and I kind of do the caveman. I'm like, you just push the button. So think Geico caveman and just pushing buttons. Day 2, I throw a curveball at them. I put another anchor in there. And then I explain to them that no one's job changes. Technical director, you're still, instead of hitting 1, you're going to hit 2 for that person. Floor manager, instead of standing next to 1 camera, when I tell you to go to camera 2, you just walk over to camera 2. Nothing else changes. And I build that confidence. And on day 3, just to make them insane, I do 3 anchors. Because it's one of those things where we're playing on that dopamine. And we always, in the first couple of weeks, we pre-record the show. We shoot it like it's live. We shoot like live. But then we pre-record it, and then we always do it to where I can have 5 or 10 minutes with them after the show to just talk to them and just explain how cool it is what they've done. So they're getting the dopamine of, wow, Mr. White thinks we did a great job. They're getting the dopamine kick when they go to their class. And another thing that I do that really, really helps, I email our entire high school all email address with today's show's available. Here's where it is. Here's who did it. Here's anchor 1, here's anchor 2, here's the director, technical director, assistant director, all of that. I email that every day. So when they walk into class, their teacher goes, oh, let's definitely watch the news. Let's see what Ryan did. The great thing about this is it's a constant dopamine kick. And if you can get that on day 1, and then on day 2 it's a little bit more, and day 3 it's a little bit more, when they mess up something, when it's a complex show, it's not a deal breaker. Think about the things that make you feel good and give that to your students. So today's show was a pretty aggressive show. We had an interview with a teacher. We had, actually, you know what, let's back up a couple of days. A couple of days ago with softball, or with our cross country on Monday, our cross country team ran on Saturday. On the show on Monday, we had 3 interviews in the story, and just in the cross country story. We had the boys coach, the girls coach, and a boys runner. We also did voiceover. So they're learning about downstream keys. They're learning about communicating those things. Here's what's happened, though. As we rotate through, my leaders always step up. And I had a young man who was driving me insane because I'm like, dude, you have to back down and let other people learn. So you know what I did? I made him my director. He sat down on day 3 and directed the show. He had watched, and he engaged, and he learned all the positions quickly. And he engaged, and he locked in, and he was driving me insane. So I made him the director. I cannot get him out of that director's chair now. Like, I'm like, dude, you need to go do the other jobs. Somebody else has got to direct. I'll direct. No, you need to go practice being an anchor. But when I talked to his mom, because I was bragging about him, I said, so she goes, oh, he came in on a high. He said on day 1, or day 2, he said on the first show, he came in buzzing about the news show. He said he couldn't get in the door quick enough to show me the news show. And he had nothing to do with it. But he kept talking about how Mr. White made it easy. Mr. White, I mean, it looks really complex, but it's easy. That's what I'm telling you about teaching these kids how to do these shows. You can do big, crazy, elaborate shows, but ultimately, the kids don't have to think in 75% of the positions. They just have to perform. So if you empower them with taking that pressure off, because they're scared to think. They're scared, I don't know how to do this. So they're thinking, I can't really pull this off. But if you empower them by telling them they don't have to think about the long term on that. And I know it sounds like an oxymoron, and it sounds like an antithesis to what we're doing, but really, they are thinking, but they're not in that. They're not engaged. We've disconnected them from, oh God, I don't know what this is or how to do it, and reinforcing them with the dopamine of, that's great. And it's simple things. Hey, graphics op, that's a good stuff. Good job. Good timing. Hey, TD, that was a nice and tight. AD, you're doing a great job counting that in. Just little comments. Feed that dopamine machine. That's how you get them to put their phones away. That's how you get them to come to school and get excited about your class and come to other classes just so they can be in your class, which is the ultimate goal for us as teachers, because if we have those kids, then we can do a lot of really cool stuff with them. I hope you're getting to meet with kids live. If not, put this in your back pocket, save it for later. I know that 2020 is a tough year. I know that you may be listening to this going, oh, look at him bragging. He gets to teach real live kids instead of computers. But remember that no matter what you're teaching, you can do this across the board. It's what we do is magic, and what we do is process that creates the product. And we have to remember to teach that to our kids, because often we get hung up on the product. And if we teach them how simple this job can be and we teach them the fundamentals, then our jobs are much easier. It's so nice to go, all right, we're going to go live in 5 minutes. And in 4 minutes and 50 seconds, the assistant director knows to hit record, or in the future, stream. And the show happens. And at the end of it, they're all buzzing, you're buzzing, and everybody loves what they do. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you want to get more information about TriCaster or really any video production product, especially the live stuff, reach out to my friends at Amatrace, AMITRACE.com. Thank you again so much for listening to Teaching to the Test Pattern. Have a great day, and as always, go make some awesome.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.